And this is Steve from Tower Genius. I'm going to read an article that I wrote. Some people just want to listen, and this is an article that we'll probably put up on our podcast and on iTunes and places like that. And obviously, it'll show up as a web page somewhere on our website, and you can listen to it here on YouTube. So let me share my screen, and so this topic or today's article or episode, what are the best cell tower lease buyout companies? People always are looking, if they're selling their cell towers, when they're trying to search, who are the best companies, who buy these things, where can I get the most money? So let me just read the article. And if you're considering selling your cell tower lease, it's not always about choosing the best cell tower lease buyout companies. Sure, most of us have heard the commercials for JG Wentworth, 877 get cash or 877 cash now. But the cell tower lease buyout, easement sale, and lease assignment process can be a bit more involved than selling an annuity or selling a structured settlement or selling your mortgage note or lottery winnings, right? Cell tower lease buyout transactions or selling your cell tower lease rental stream can require cell tower landlords to jump over a lot of hurdles in order to maximize the value of your cell tower lease transactions. There are actually a few dozen cell tower lease buyout companies out there who purchase the rights to the cell tower lease agreements and rental income on properties where a cell phone tower or rooftop cellular lease resides. And I'll just stop here for a second. So when you're doing a cell tower lease buyout, you're not selling your building, you're not selling your land, unless it's a fee simple sale, right? But you're selling the lease, you're selling an easement, and you're assigning that lease to the cell tower investor. So after working with cell tower landlords and cell tower lease buyout transactions for over 15 years and assisting hundreds of property owners with lease buyouts and assignments, we've learned a thing or two about selling your cell tower lease and the lease buyout companies who purchase them. So how do you select the best cell tower lease buyout company? Well, I'm glad you asked. Please listen on. So putting the cart before the horse when shopping for a cell tower lease buyout company, this is something that happens quite often, right? So while the concept of cell tower lease buyouts might seem straightforward to you, it's not. It's often not always about selecting the right lease buyout company, as the process can be complicated and present many obstacles for cell site landlords who are unprepared. You don't want to go into battle with these companies, and you are going into battle with them, right? You want to have the right tools. You need to know what you have in your lease agreement before you sell it. And this is where a lot of people screw up. They have no idea what's in their lease. I just want to do a lease buyout. You really need to have somebody look at it first, because it's possible that you're up for a lease renewal. Like, these companies would love to buy the lease, if it's undervalued and right before it renews, because there's an arbitrage play there, right? They can get more money for the lease, and there's a bigger spread there. So you need to know what you have in your lease agreement before you sell it, and you need to know what your exit strategy is, right? And that's why we always say, talk to your financial advisor, talk to your CPA, your accountant. Chances are, obviously, talk to your attorney, any type of real estate deal that you do. But chances are that your attorney and your CPA and whatnot don't know a hill of beans about cell tower lease buyouts and how they work, what they're worth. Some cell site lease agreements contain provisions and language that can impact your ability to shop the deals around and to get competitive bids. And some of that language actually, and it's purposely left in there so they don't, it doesn't create a bidding environment, and it drives the prices down. I actually heard an executive for one of the three big tower companies say that the right of first refusal provision is like a baseball bat that we use to beat down the cell tower landlords. Said it on the call. So don't expect the cell site lease buyout companies to educate you about what you are selling and what it's worth. All right, so here's some things to think about before you start sizing up cell tower lease buyout companies. Number one, does your cellular lease contain a ROFR, right of first refusal? Right of first refusal is a provision that requires you to share a bona fide offer. So you sign a letter of intent with cell tower lease company A, lease buyout company. You need to share that with American Tower or Crown or Verizon or whoever you're dealing with as your lessee or tenant, or you will be in default. And you get yourself into legal trouble. Um, so does your lease contain a right of first refusal? Does your cell site lease have confidentiality language that limits your ability to share the lease with third parties? Sometimes if you're negotiating a deal and you say, okay, remove the right of first refusal, their crafty attorneys will slip in confidentiality language that prohibits you from showing this thing to anybody. They also might put in severance language, which basically, if you're trying to assign this to somebody, then you have to get their consent. That can't be unreasonably withheld or delayed, blah, blah, blah. But that's going to cost, you have to pay that down. It's going to cost money for the lease buyout companies that are purchasing your T-Mobile lease or Verizon or AT&T lease, et cetera. So does your cell tower lease require you to get the lessee's consent before you sign the lease? You got to know that before you're searching for lease buyout companies, but really, not every lease buyout company is prepared to deal with language like that. So you want to know what you have before you sell it. Do you know who your subtenants or the carriers are on your rooftop or on your tower? Chances are, if you have a rooftop lease, it's AT&T or whoever, right? T-Mobile, Verizon, US Cellular. But a lot of times people have no idea who's on their tower. All they do is they know it was originally Verizon, now it's American Tower, but you see lots of people coming in and out, technicians, people working on the sites, and you see lots of equipment and antennas, and but you don't know who those carriers are in many instances. So you want to have that information. The next thing is, before you sell and start looking for lease buyout companies, you want to know, and make sure, do you have a mortgage on your property or land? And if you do, is that lender going to be willing to sign a subordination non-disturbance agreement with the tower company, with the buyer, whoever's buying this? So that's something that could hold up leases for months, and it really can, even if you're trying to sell a property. Let's say you're selling a commercial property with an office building or something on it, and there's a tower in the back. You're trying to sell off the tower prior to the sale, and the bank is like, no, we're not signing that SNDA document. That's going to put the kibosh on your whole sale potentially if you don't know what you're doing, or if you have the wrong buyout company with a horrible, with really bad language. So anyway, the next thing is, you want to ask before you're looking to select a buyout company. First of all, does your financial advisor, CPA, understand the ins and outs and the nuances of using the funds from the lease buyout transaction to roll into a 1031 exchange? We have some CPAs, and we've seen actually a recent example of this, where the CPA told the cell tower landlord, no, you got to buy another cell tower with it, and you can't buy one out here in Wisconsin or wherever they were. There's nothing for sale. But you want to get somebody, you get a better CPA, or talk to us. Obviously, we don't give financial advice. We can give you our opinion of what we know about things in the industry, but you want to understand the nuances of these deals, so you can do a 1031 exchange to defer, transfer that risk onto a different type of commercial property. Also, what are your chances that your lawyer, who's very well intentioned, and your attorney that helped you with your divorce or with your house closing or other litigation, what are the chances that you're going to give them your lease buyout contract and easement agreement, and they're going to screw the deal up by asking for just things that are not going to get changed? And we've seen the number one killer of cell tower lease deals and buyout deals are well-intentioned attorneys, unfortunately. So maybe you inherited a cell site lease. Do you want to sell it, or you really want to have us take a look at it? Because maybe it doesn't make sense to sell it. Maybe you should wait a couple years to renegotiate that lease when it's time. So there are a lot of different things to look at. For example, if you're a trustee in an estate, and you really want to get fair market value, you want to make sure that you are being a good steward of that lease that you're handling for the estate. The buyout companies aren't going to give you the valuation for that. A real estate appraiser is not going to know what it's worth. Your commercial real estate agent's not going to know what that's worth. So these are things that you need to think about. This is why we tell property owners and cell tower landlords it's important to get proper guidance before you try to figure out who's the right cell tower lease buyout company to work with, and why seeking professional guidance like we provide at Tower Genius, www.towergenius.com, it's worth its weight in gold. If you need help before you sell your cell tower lease, or you have a cell tower lease for sale and you don't know what you're doing, or you're thinking about selling a commercial property that's got a cell site on the roof or a tower in the backyard, you got questions about lease buyout rates and anything else that has to do with the cell site buyout or any other part of that paper transaction, or if you need other like offline inside baseball about cell tower lease buyout companies and the transactions, please give us a call at Tower Genius. Our number is 888-313-9750. Press option 2 for lease buyouts. Oh, one other thing here, and this article goes on, so you could read some more here, but there are companies. So these companies I want to touch upon, obviously Landmark Dividend, Unison, you got Symphony, TowerPoint, AP Wireless, blah, 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 on and on. There are about 24 companies. Some of them are like big hedge funds, real estate trusts, real estate acquisition companies. Some of them are actually like pseudo brokers. Some of them are, you could be, and here's another thing I forgot to mention. So, and I do touch upon this in the article, you have companies that fund other lease buyout companies. So there's a hedge fund out of the Midwest that funds a bunch of different firms that are lease buyout companies. So let's say, okay, well, I'm going to be a savvy landlord. I can do this on my own. I'm just going to go out and procure bids from company A, company B, company C, company D. And you have 4 different offers, and you choose, what's behind curtain number 2. You pick that one, and you think you got a good offer. It turns out you bid against 4 companies that are under the same octopus, right? The same lease buyout fund has 4 different partners that are buying it. You could literally be bidding against yourself and have no idea. One of the reasons people work with Tower Genius, and we are cell tower lease buyout advocates, right? We got into this business accidentally or as a byproduct of what we do. We came out of the wireless acquisition and development industry. We did develop and lease sites going back pre 9/11 for Verizon Wireless and T-Mobile and Sprint up in the Northeast. And my business partner, Kevin Donahue, and I have over 50 years combined experience working with cell sites and with lease negotiations, things like that. We've been doing exclusive cell tower landlord property owner representation as consultants for over 16 years now. So we've had thousands and thousands of conversations with cell site landlords. We talk to landlords on a daily basis. And because we help them and guide them on cell tower lease reviews and negotiations and amendments, we see tons of buyout offers because tower companies make them whenever they're trying to extend or renew a lease, and people get bombarded with telemarketing and with letters and offers and things like that. Even the lease buyout companies that are the lease rent reduction companies that are trying to reduce your rent are also trying to, hey, give us a 30% rent reduction. Oh, by the way, we'll buy an easement from you. And they offer you 12 times the annual rent. So you want to make sure that, you're getting unbiased information and answers to your question. The other thing that I'll mention to you is some of the other lease consultants, experts in this field are cell tower lease consulting firms, but they're actually trying to buy your lease agreement. So there's a conflict of interest there. Okay. And how can a company that is telling, or at least on the internet, they're saying, hey, we're a cell tower lease landlord consulting company. We help consult with, cell tower lease rates and negotiations and lease buyouts. But then when you contact them with your lease buyout, they're actually trying to purchase that lease and acquire it for themselves. So you're not, you know, these are like wolves in sheep's clothing. You really got to watch who you're dealing with. We say be careful because the sharks are circling. Don't become their next meal. We're not joking when we talk about that. So um, if you are considering a cell tower lease sale, talk to your attorney, talk to your financial advisor, get a second opinion from Tower Genius. Um, we had and I'll close out with this. We had a cell site landlord, tower owner, I guess about 2 years ago. They had an offer, and it was multi seven figure offer for a tower that they own. Okay, these things are valuable. They negotiated it, and they thought they had a great deal. Um, it was a good deal, but it wasn't a great deal. It wasn't the best deal. They hired us. We used to do these $99. I think there were these $99 strategy calls. We stopped doing that after about a year. So, but they hired us, and then they ended up hiring us as for consulting services. Lo and behold, I'd say about 4 months later, this property owner pocketed an extra $700,000 because they got the type of guidance that they were unable to obtain on their own. Now, obviously, results are not typical, but I'd say typically, whenever we get engaged to help with cell tower lease buyouts by property owners or their attorneys or however we get hired, um, the value of the added value that we bring to the table usually nets our clients anywhere from an extra 50 to 100K. That's very typical, actually. So anyway, unless you have money to burn, then just disregard everything that I told you. Otherwise, we'd love to talk to you. Visit us at towergenius.com or fill out a contact form there, or give us a call at 888-313-9750. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.